right, hello, health heads. Welcome and thank you for checking into this dose of the Healthcare Uprising. I'm your producer, Jeremy Carr, here with your host, Heather Pierce. So what is on our agenda for today, Heather?
We are having a first of a kind conversation. We have Dr. Kyle Hulsebus. Hulsebus. I said it right, darn it, in the interview.
You can only say it right when it doesn't count.
Yeah, Dr. Kyle Hulsebus.
Hulsebus.
Good grief. Who is a philosopher, a chiropractor, comes from literally 50 years of chiropractors. But he is a health and human potential expert. So he's a speaker, he's a writer, he's a
storyteller.
He is a storyteller. He's a very interesting gentleman, and he came and talked to us about health and human potential today.
And opened my mind to a lot of new things in chiropractic and related things. So
chiropractic is not just about bones.
This one goes deep. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into it with Dr. Kyle Hulsebus, the storytelling, health, and human potential expert.
You got it. Hi, and welcome to the Healthcare Uprising podcast. Today we have with us Dr. Kyle Hulsebus, storyteller of health and human potential. Almost tripped myself up there. Welcome to the show.
Wonderful title.
Dr. Kyle.
Thank you. Yes, Dr. Kyle works.
Dr. Kyle, yeah. Can I say Dr. Kyle? You're not going to make me say Hulsebus every time.
No, and
I'll be sure to mess up your name at some point.
and understand that I work in healthcare with my wife, my brother, my father. And if you walk in and ask for Dr. Hulsebus, there's a lot of people that say which one.
They all
so
turn their heads
we all go,
time.
we all go by our first name. So it's Dr. Kyle. I'm more used to Dr. Kyle than Dr. Hulsebus.
Well, then Dr. Kyle it is, the storyteller of health and human potential. This is a first for us.
Okay.
I'm super excited about this conversation.
Yeah.
It's definitely going to be really unique. So with that, welcome to the show and give us a little background about yourself, like kind of who are you? What are you doing? What are all the things you have your hands into, which are quite a few. So
my goodness. Well, first off, thank you both very much for having me on, and all your listeners for listening. It's quite an honor and a privilege to be here. I call myself the storyteller simply because I've sort of grown up with stories. I know some people are listening here. Others might have a visual. You can see I've got all sorts of eclectic books behind me, spanning a bunch of different stuff. I love story and relating things through story. So when I talk about that with health and human potential, I look for the potential in everybody, and I use the principles of health in order to teach everything. That being said, as I just mentioned, there's a lot of Dr. Hulsebus in my office. I'm third generation chiropractor. My grandfather started to practice in 1949. Both my uncles, my dad are chiropractors, two cousins. My one cousin married a chiropractor. I married a chiropractor. I practice with my brother. My younger brother's not a chiropractor, but he helps run a lot of the stuff in the office. So very, very much a family business. I grew up. My father has a postgraduate degree in chiropractic philosophy. So I grew up with a lot of exposure to philosophy, ideas of health, really looking at the human body from a very different paradigm, I would say, than you see for the most part out there, where it's kind of like, what do we need to get from the outside to make us healthy? I was raised more that all the potential is within you. We just have to make certain there's no interference. On top of that, I have a degree in English literature. I have a degree in theater with a focus on acting. I've also been a sound designer. I've been a freelance writer. I've written several novels. I have not published any of those novels. Short stories. I've done travel writing, articles. I've done copywriting, which is kind of how I ended up finally getting to chiropractic, because I was trying to sell health products and it didn't make sense. I bartended. I've run shoe companies, even though I hate shoes.
I love it.
And just, this whole panoply of stuff. And then,
I think he's beat you, Jeremy.
I study and
more jobs than me.
And I just can't help but continue to learn. I've studied comparative religion, comparative science with that religion, gone through many, many different ologies. There's probably not a subject I don't enjoy. My wife and I also ballroom dance. We even like to compete a little bit if we can. And
cool.
and I also study languages, both ancient and modern.
Yeah.
So because I love words and different ways we can relate words. So that's
this all sounds like part of the health of human behavior right here.
Oh, yes. I figure you two probably have a lot of the same books on your bookshelves.
We just might.
Yeah.
You may.
Yeah. And I think we're
especially since I started this podcast.
Right.
It's definitely affected my reading list over the last couple of years.
Perfect.
Yeah, we're in good company here. As you know, when we first met too, and I was thinking about Jeremy and kind of who I am, we all have like a lot of like similar tracks and a lot of things in common, which I love. So I feel like I'm just sitting here with my people right now.
Absolutely.
I love it. Wow. So with that, yeah. Oh, Jeremy, he's already got a question. I'm sorry.
The philosophy of chiropractic.
Yeah.
I didn't know that philosophy was involved in chiropractic. I thought it was a science of the skeleton kind of thing. What kind of philosophy are you dealing with when it comes to specifically philosophy of the chiropractic?
So what maybe people don't realize is chiropractic is the only healthcare profession that's actually founded on a philosophy. And I would argue that the philosophy is in many things. The philosophy came first, and we had to figure out a science to really work it. And then we had to figure out an art in order to practice it. And so chiropractic, by definition, is a philosophy, a science, and an art of things natural.
That's very old world. It used to only be one word for all those things at once.
And of course, chiropractic comes from the Greek, meaning kairos and praxis, done by hand. And because it's, for the most part, you certainly have chiropractors that use instruments and they use certain other methods, but the majority of us, we do all of our adjusting by hand, which is what makes us unique as far as it goes. The idea of chiropractic is not new. It's thousands of years old. Even Hippocrates spoke on that type of stuff, where the health is in the nervous system, it is in the spine. What Dr. D.D. Palmer kind of figured out was he figured out how to do it without needing 3 or 4 people at a time and a bunch of machines to make specific adjustments within the spinal column and remove interference on nerves to allow the body to restore, we can say, health. And the underlying philosophy is that the body is a self-healing organism. It doesn't really require input so much as a removal of interference.
It's a very yogic kind of thought pattern there.
Yeah, you can see there's a lot of
the body to heal itself in a way.
Very much so. There's a lot of Eastern philosophy. At the time, Dr. D.D. Palmer in 1895 was in Davenport, Iowa, and he was studying magnetic healing. And that isn't to say that he was studying how to heal with magnets. He was, we would almost probably relate it more to the law of attraction today, that he was trying to use sort of magnetic presence to work on healing, but he was trying to find the cause of all disease in mankind.
I mean, we have, I don't know if Heather's going to get to talk in this one.
It's fine.
We each do have our own individual magnetic field, which is part of our health rhythms, right? Like it affects the way everything in our body works, and like your energy.
I was going to say, like our energy states and
how much like the magnetosphere around the earth. We actually each have one of those. Is that what we're talking about? Like you're actually doing therapy on that?
Well, no, that was what Dr. Palmer was originally looking for. But what he ended up was he had a janitor by the name of Harvey Lillard that worked in the building he had his offices in, where he was doing all his research. And he'd also studied anatomy and all that. And Harvey talked to him and related to him that he'd been deaf in one ear for 17 years, ever since he'd fallen off a ladder and he'd felt a pop in his neck and then his hearing went away. And what Dr. Palmer surmised was maybe something moved in the neck and impinged on a nerve, and if we moved it back and removed the impingement, the hearing would be restored. And by a miracle, really, that Harvey's actual hearing organs had not been damaged over the years. He laid him on the floor. They didn't have the fancy tables like we do now, and adjusted what he could feel was a very protruded bone in his neck and moved it. And Harvey's hearing came back. And, they thought, well, maybe we're onto something. And lots of experiments, and obviously they had to figure out sciences and tests and all that type of stuff over time. But it sort of grew from that idea that, my goodness, Edison was right. Hippocrates was right. These people that have been looking at misalignments in the spine as a cause of dis-ease might have been onto something. And he still talked about tone and the nerves and the nervous system. I mean, we could sit here and talk for 10 hours on this.
Sure.
Wow. I'm, for the record, I have been a relatively consistent, patient of chiropractic care for quite a while.
Beautiful.
So I'm a believer, but there's people that are out there, and for the reasons that you're explaining, right? Like, and this is a much bigger conversation, is like, what is chiropractic care, is what we feel and experience, right? But like, what is it actually doing for us? There's kind of naysayers out there about chiropractic care.
Sure.
And I'm like, wait a second, I think it's one of the best things that you can do, which we'll talk a little bit more about. How do you deal with that? Like, what's your reaction to somebody when they are like,
well, I tell people, I go, it's not my job to convince you. My job is to sit here and explain to you the science. Like what I just described, that's the foundational sort of ideas and philosophies and principles they came from. And if we start to look at the scientific literature, you're going to see all these studies on how, removing interference, adjusting bones in the spine, how working on posture of the spine, removing tension in the nervous system, how adjusting. I mean, we've got in thousands and tens of thousands of clinical studies showing that doing this is going to affect how the brain communicates with the body and the body communicates with the brain. I mean, there's no doubt anymore about the science behind it all. The art becomes a different story. It's one of those things where you want to have somebody skilled and qualified on whether it's good or not. The people that come up and they're like, well, I don't believe it. And I go, well, that's fine. It's not a belief-based system. It's a science-based system. We know we can repeat this over and over. If I'm less skilled at what I do, the same as you don't want to go to the surgeon that never really practices, because you might go, well, can I have the guy that does this every day rather than the one that does it, every couple of months?
Right.
There's a certain, it's these two forms of healthcare that really only improve by doing. Because I can remember being a new practitioner and I'm like, yeah, you make a few more mistakes and you don't want that with people. And we learn a little bit as we go. And then as you get more and more skill, and then you can start to recognize what's going on and how to help people. You get through that. And after a while, you get to certainty where I can just say, well, that's fine. You can say whatever you want to me. I know the people that I'm helping. And I also know that typically if you're a naysayer to me, either you're scared about it, which there's no shame in any of that. I'm here to educate you about it. Or number two, it's not something you really want to go through. You want something that's going to be a quote unquote quick fix rather than a long-term gain, which is really what, chiropractic can make you feel better. But in order to really take advantage of it, you do have to go through some type of care plan, the same as you would with exercise or if you see a therapist or, all these different things.
Yeah. That's a good way to explain it. It's as I'm listening to you talk and some of the things that you were saying, you obviously, you are a health and human potential expert, right? Or the storyteller of that. When you think about human potential, what does that even mean? Like when you think about that and talk about that in the space of healthcare, like how do you look at that differently? Can kind of expound on that a little bit and kind of the maybe deeper meaning behind that?
Let me tell you a story.
I love stories.
I had a child with cerebral palsy in my practice years ago. And it was one of those, the child, is slow and doesn't respond really well and still needs diapers and is 5 and doesn't really speak. And they bring the child and sit the child on my bench, and the child just kind of sits there and drools and looks off into space. And I go, well, hold on, people. I mean, and they're saying, going to have to do surgery for the legs because there's no walking, no mobility. And, in cerebral palsy, and I look at the parents and the adults there, and I go, why do you think the child's slow? And they go, well, that's what cerebral palsy is. I go, no, it's not. I go, it's a motor problem. It's not a sensory issue. Autism is sort of a sensory issue. I said, this is a motor problem. It means that the brain can't get everything to do what it wants to do. And because somewhere there's some damage there. I go, but if you start treating the child as sort of foolish and you don't look at the potential of life in this child, then yeah, you're absolutely creating that, and you're sort of giving the child that feedback. So adjusting the child, who was also working with a phenomenal physical therapist, I can say, at that time, and some great MDs that were also kind of like, come on, people, let's get this kid working. Within a few weeks, I've got this child sitting up and very alert in my office. I believe potty trained in only a couple months, and suddenly is able to like do things. Still with leg problems, obviously walking, but could get the child to stand. Could hold hands, stand up, get legs moving, start to do different things. Suddenly I had this very active child. Now, one thing I think really spurred on development too was not just what I'm doing and what the therapists are doing, is this child had a sibling that was just turning 1.5, 2, and this kid's younger sibling was literally running circles around the chair to a 5-year-old that can't walk, and you could see this frustration. And especially as I looked at the kid, and one time the adult is going to pick the kid up, put him on the bench, and I go, no. I go, you make that kid work. I go, this kid's got disadvantages. I go, don't steal from the child the ability to learn to do this because somebody else told you that they can't. And we got all the way to the point that's the reason I love the PT was the PT gave this child a walker to use to hold up, but didn't make it so you could push it, actually locked the wheel so you had to pull it, meaning you have to stand up straight. And I remember watching this kid run down my hallway with this walker. Wow. And I go, there's no physical problem anymore with that kid. It was a little more up here in the head, because if this kid was touching my hand, could walk. As soon as I pulled my hand away, without even holding it, just touch, I pulled my hand away, dropped, and which says that there was still some type of neurological, maybe just even mental stuff or strategy there. But at the same time, I go, when you first brought this kid to me, that was, oh, well, can you maybe make the kid responsive at all? And I'm like, I see these things, and I can tell you hundreds of stories of different patients, young to old. I'll get 80-year-olds in, and they'll go, well, I'm too old. And I go, stop. My oldest patient was 104.
Oh my God.
And was like, and when she came in, she was like, I don't have time for this crap. I got stuff to do. Fix my back. Yeah. And
you got to keep the momentum, man. You got to keep
yeah. But so we talk about
that's true.
Yeah, but I mean, we talk about human potential. I go, that this has opened my eyes to be like, why are we limiting ourselves? The guy that used to own the dance studio, who's a good friend of mine, his son was born with a terrible condition where he was basically could barely use his legs. And this is to a dance instructor, a ballroom dance instructor.
Oh gosh.
And they told him, like, don't get attached. He's just never really going to make it. Look at these kids in this home. And he told me they went into this place. He goes, it was like a retirement home or a nursing home for children with this condition. And he goes, it was just awful, Kyle. And he says, the hell if I'm going to allow my son to be there? He may not live too long, but at least I'm going to make certain he lives. And he's still going today, and he's like 24.
Wow,
great kid. I mean, great young man, I should say.
Sometimes it's like that mind over matter, right? Like it is in your head. Like, am I willing to try, right? Not to be enabled to not try, right? Like I need to push for this. I need to work for it. And
I try to get that through to the parent, because if the parent's given up, that's going to translate real fast to a kid. If the parent's like, it doesn't matter what they say, they're, certainly within limitations, there's certain conditions you got to be realistic with, but at the same time, you can look and go, all right, this might be as far as we can go, but let's live as much as we can in this time that we have. Even if it is only a few years.
Right. I keep thinking that I cannot think of the name of the movie for my life, but the one with Robert De Niro where he has Parkinson's and
Awakenings.
Awakening, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That
Yeah.
was like flashing
With
my
Robin
head.
Williams.
And Robin Williams, as you were talking about that, I watched it not that long ago. It's a great movie, but like I feel like that's kind of an example of that.
It
Like
is.
you find that channel, and Robin Williams was the guy that was like, "Let's go," you
Well,
know.
if you read stories about Robin Williams, he was that person anyway.
Yeah, it was
I mean,
perfect.
that's another inspiration to me because he saw that in people.
Right.
We had a story like this recently on this podcast, the Ghislaine Barre episode.
Oh.
Yeah.
This woman's laying in a bed, can't move anything but her eyes, and the doctors are telling everyone she's going to die. And then her brothers do some basic research about the condition, and they're like, she's going to be fine.
They're like, screw this. Let's go. Let's figure this out.
She's literally in bed making her peace with God, and her brothers come in like, you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the doctors were telling everyone she was done.
And she fully recovered.
She came on our podcast. She was walking around with her phone as the camera, literally walking around talking to us for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
It was wild.
That's an amazing story. I see it.
It's awesome.
I encounter those people.
Sure.
So yeah, that's human potential to me.
Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I know, and obviously you've done, you know a lot. So what an interesting perspective that you bring to looking at a patient, right? And thinking about this kind of health potential, this human potential. So like, what's stopping so many of us from being the best possible versions of ourselves?
And what does it take to get there?
Yeah. Like are we in our own ways? Are we in our own heads? Is it all of the above? How do we get out of the way? Although I think Jeremy and I are pretty good. We're pretty good when we look at your 40 over 40 program, which I want to talk about that too.
We do our work.
Yeah.
We do our work.
Yeah.
I kind of dislike the phrase "the best version of myself."
Mm-hmm.
And kind of like you actually brought up to me earlier when we were talking beforehand, Heather, like working about just about being authentic.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's so much crap out there, especially now with social media. Like, look at me, I'm living my best life, and I go, what how false could that be? I mean, you're showing me different things. Especially now in the with the advent of AI, where people are just there's easily faking stuff, though the kids are picking up when stuff's not real. But it's more that idea of not how do we live the best versions of ourselves, because compared to what, suddenly then there's got to be this is the way you should be, and it's based on what? Like, I get people in my family, my wife and I don't have children. And we're not interested in having our own, but as we always say, I have thousands of kids. I mean, people bring me their kids. I mean, I've known so many children now their entire lives, and and my cousins have children. I said I have hundreds and hundreds of kids. So what if I don't have it biologically? But I get people that like, well, but that's supposed to be your best life. That's supposed to be your most important thing. And I go, well, then it's not for me.
Yeah. Who says?
And if I try to do that, and you'll find, people try to do stuff like that and they get sick, and they're sick all the time. And you go, that's your body giving you feedback, and your life giving you feedback, going, it's not so much am I living my best self based on this. It's more, what is it that's true to you that you love to do, that you can go out there and just be? And I don't think it's so much that we're stopping ourselves from living our best life, is that we're getting caught up in somebody else's narrative on what that's supposed to be.
Right.
You're supposed to do your 40 hours a week. You're supposed to start at 20 and retire at 65. You're supposed to have Social Security. You should be a grandparent then. You should be going to the national parks. You should be, whatever. And, which is the old narrative, and you're seeing that break. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it's, what is stopping us is, sometimes I think we're not giving ourselves permission to do it. Other times it's maybe we are, and we just don't recognize that we are.
Yeah, I say it a lot in conversations, when we wax philosophical around here, that, it's not about being best. It's about actualizing. It's about finding your actual self and figuring out, what do you actually want? Because for most people, if you actually know what you want, you're probably going to be able to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
It might not even be hard.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is most people don't actually know what they want. in life. Like they don't know that they don't have a target they're aiming at. And if they do, it's not their target, it's someone else's target.
Gosh,
I have this.
how much you're missing out on, right?
I have this important question I ask people when they come in new to my office. Because for the most part, people are going to come in because they've got a pain or they've got, bad headaches or they're having real bad stomach problems or things like that. Though, I see them come in for 1,000 conditions, but I'll look at somebody that's got, say sciatic pain. I recently had somebody with sciatic pain. I said, you've been dealing with this for 9 months. And that's pretty bad pain. I mean, I've had that pain. And I go, what's making you deal with it now? And really, here's the real important question. What is this now causing you, or what is it now stopping you from doing that you really love to do? Because if you really just wanted to be out of pain, I can guarantee you there are drugs, there's morphine, there's all sorts of crap we can give you so you don't feel pain. So I know it's not to be out of pain. I know it's to get back to doing what you love. Because there's individuals that show up in the office and I go, it took you 9 months to get to this point. You could ignore it for 9 months. Now suddenly it's impacted you and you're like, I've even had people come in going, I don't really trust chiropractors, but I've got nothing else to go to. I need help. And I go, great. For what? Not for your pain. Tell me why you want the pain gone. And then you start to really dig in, and it's, I can't pick up my grandson. I can't drive my kids. I can't go fishing with my nephew. I can't, I can't go to work. I got some people that they're like, I can't go to work, and that's my life. I love my job so much and I can't do it. And I'm like, we got to get you back to work. We got to get you picking up your grandkids. We got to get you flying on planes to Italy so you can have great food. I mean, it's that type of stuff that's important to ask, because a lot of times that's where it comes out.
That's what leads to the real healing, right? Is when you have a focus that you're working toward, rather than I have to get rid of this problem. It's I have to be able to do this other thing.
Yeah. And so
it gives you a reason to keep going to the chiropractor.
I mean, that's what I even explain to people. I go, listen, I'm going to give you a care plan, not because I'm not very good and I need to see it 50 times to finally get it right. It's more that, I need to put an input into the spine to change your brain's habit of how it's keeping itself and repair itself to the point where you don't need me. And then you're coming in, because people are like, well, I want to do maintenance care. I go, you can hardly walk down the hall. Why do you want to maintain that? But like what let's get you to a higher point first. And yeah, it's going to give you a little pain in your pocketbook to transform from your physical pain to this. But let's set down some objectives. Let's set down some goals on where you want to be. And I talk to people about where they want to be. That's the 40 over 40 is you're midway through your life's journey. You might have 40 to 50 more years left. Do you really want to stay here?
Oh, that's what the 40 over 40 means. I was going to ask what exactly that meant. Okay.
But but even and I'm gonna jump into some etymology before I even jump into that.
Yes.
This idea, you sent me something earlier in an email. It was talking about that people look for quick fix, and then I thought, do we look for a long fix? And I thought, well, do I want to fix an issue or solve a problem? And I go, is there really a difference? So I had to look up the words, of course, because I love knowing where words come from. And if we go to the verb fix from the Latin fixus and the verb figere, which means to fasten or fix, to drive, to pierce through, it even goes in the meaning of it really became to render immovable, to securely attach or repair in our modern use. Solve came from the Latin solvere, to loosen or dissolve, to untie, to release, to detach.
Oh,
very different. And it goes back to the Proto-Indo-European for to loosen, divide, or cut apart. And so in our modern usage, we use to explain, to resolve a problem, to untie a complex issue. So fix is a little bit more on fastening or setting, and solve is more about really creating an answer, creating we create a solution. Even in chemistry, in that we talk about, we have solutions in that, but we fix things, and we talk about, we fix our pets. We fix our problems. We try to fix our spouse. We try to to get rid of the stuff we don't like and make it immovable.
Keep them there.
There's almost a dogmatic idea, right? Yeah. It's to sort of fix, to set in place. But if I'm going to solve and resolve, and look for solutions to a problem, at that point I'm going to go, I don't want to fix the problem. I want to know how to take the problem and dissolve its sort of charge and weighing down of me, and look for these solutions. Then we don't have to fix this, because now we know how to go forward and adapt.
Right.
And that was more what I started to educate. And I tell people in my office, I go, it takes 5% to 10% of my effort to provide an adjustment for you. 90% of my job is educating you, because I need to empower you in your own health in order for you to solve the issue. Because I can't heal you.
Comes in,
Right. I can't heal you. I can only remove interference. And I can do that physically with my chiropractic adjustments. I can tell you stories so you look at things differently. I'll come talk to your company so that you wonder where your stop gaps are, all that. And that's what I put into the 40 over 40.
Can you explain a little bit what the 40 over 40? I mean, I know what it is, spoiler, but for our listeners, I would love.
I do not know what it is.
Sorry, Jeremy doesn't know.
Jeremy doesn't know.
Doesn't tell me anything.
I did my research. Could you explain what that is? And I think it's a really beautiful program that your approach shares. It's simple and it's actionable. So.
Well, it's simple, and in our office and in chiropractic in general, we use the principle of KISS. Keep it simple, stupid.
Oh.
And it's, simplicity is really, because the body is a very simple thing. Quick background, it was a mastermind, a small mastermind group of ours, a group of friends, and we were just throwing ideas around. My friend Amr says, what's the average age of a patient that comes into your office that wants to do long-term care and really sit down and change sort of their potential of health? And I said, probably anywhere from 45 to 55. And it was like, cool. Why do you think that is? And, I go, gosh, that's real interesting. And we started to explore, because, of course, we're all in our 40s now. And we started to look at it. And I found Carl Jung's quote that to paraphrase was pretty much, he says, life really does begin at 40. Everything leading up to that is just practice, is just research. And I started to look, and I go, for the most part, we tend to be sort of stable in our job when we get to around 40. We kind of know where we want to be. Maybe we've moved up as some supervisor role. We've got some stability there. You tend to have a little more stability financially. You're not too terribly worried about debt. You've got some savings. You can kind of go and expand a little bit. You tend to be solid on your relationship, or know that you want to change your relationship about 40. That's I wonder if we talk to some attorneys if they'd find that was a common age. But if you started having kids at 20, then you're going to go to the empty nest syndrome when you get to your 40s. If you're like my youngest brother, he started that adventure at the age of 40.
Oh, wow.
40 sort of this, you're seeing that. We're seeing a lot of people in their late 30s, early 40s.
When I had my second. So
well, they just had their first.
Okay.
At 40. And my other good friend just had her first, and she's 41.
Okay. It is happening. Like, people are starting their lives later. Or
they're living here and they're going there. But you tend to have some social stability. You've got your regular bowling league you're on, or your group of friends you go golfing with, or your Saturday night cards, or you got your D&D group that you're still rolling with since you were 18.
Quality over quantity too. That's a big change. As a 49-year-old woman, like everything you're saying.
Friends, you just want a few good ones.
Right.
Exactly. So your social groups tend to be set then. And you tend to really know where you are spiritually at that point. You've probably found whatever faith you want to be on. A lot of that searching sort of done. You've got a little more certainty in really what you believe and where you want to go. You've certainly, as Jung said, you've done a lot of research. You have knowledge of life, and a lot of people I find, especially we're in a blue collar town up here. I've got a lot of factory employees. They listen to courses on tape. They love to listen to things that they can learn while they're working. People love to learn, and they tend to say, "Yeah, I decided to do this." People that are taking Old Norse with me, I'm sort of in the average age at that group. There's people in their 40s learning Old Norse, Old English, and Latin,
That is so cool.
you know,
That's a
or
wild language to be learning.
yeah, and well, it just kind of grew out of the Old English, to be fair. But
sure.
and then you got a lot that are going, I haven't paid too much attention to my physical health and well-being. They walk into my office with this weird problem that's interrupting their relationship, that's interrupting their job prospects, or their social group, or their family life, these different things, or I can't go to my classes because of this, or I can't participate in church because of this pain. And so I end up helping them at that point with their physicality. But then I've had other people with great physical well-being that come and they're like, I don't have a direction, I'm lost. And that's the midlife crisis, right? Mm-hmm. It's, you just don't want to honor the direction you want to go, because you're caught up in that sort of social paradigm that says it should be this, and you don't want it to be. And that's 40. And so I'll say that 40 over 40, it was sort of a riff on 30 under 30. So yeah. But it worked because I was able to create 40 tips. That's a lot. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you, and I had help with it. So I had numerous people to help contribute to that to me, though I kind of created a lot on my own. And I wanted to create 4 to 6 minute videos explaining each one and fun little ways to use it that maybe you haven't thought of. Mm-hmm. And just throw that out there. And you've got this sort of, if it's a book, then you got 40 chapters, and it's which ones resonate with me to where I'm at in life, and where do I go from there? It's not a course that says you must do day 1 and do it every day until you get to 40. It's more, hey, 37 resonates, 32 resonates, 18 does, number 10 and number 1. I tell everybody, go through them all so but then sit down and say which ones resonate in your life that help you go through. And choose a few that are, and choose a few that, very much so. And I have those books.
Uh-huh. So it's all just tips on how to live healthy over 40 kind of thing. Do you have some specific examples in your mind that you
Yes. One of my favorites that sort of weirds people out is go people watching.
Oh, nice. I love people watching.
Because, see, I've got to run the gamut. It's not physical health. I gave a talk on aging and longevity about 7 years ago, and I had all these people in their 70s show up. And I opened the whole thing saying, there's no secret here. You've got to eat well, you've got to move well, you've got to think well, and you've got to take care of your spine for healthy aging and healthy longevity. I'm here to kind of change your paradigm of looking at that, and I'm here to change, so you don't get caught up in the BS that's out there that's going to try to give you a quick fix, so that you that you can eat like crap and sit around all day and not exercise and have garbage thoughts and still live to be 120, because that ain't true. And so I created this more that, where I go and I go, everybody knows you need to diet, exercise, and do all this stuff. I want to give you things to get you out of your head, to get you out of where maybe you are. I mean, day 8, day 9, pardon, I don't remember all my days anymore, but one of them is learn about money. The average 40-year-old in the United States has like a savings account of $4,500. People learn a little about money. I give talks around the holidays about the 2 biggest stresses in our life, which is family and finances, in that order. I go, people are, go learn a little more about money. And I think people are disempowered in that knowledge for themselves. You don't have to go out to be billionaires. It's, but understand little issues that maybe you're not, and stop putting your hands in the market. Have a little self-knowledge, and then go know how to find the experts that are there to help you, rather than the people that are there to sell you on their way of making money. That's the education. To go people watching, I don't think there's anything healthier than people watching. Go out in a crowded area, and in fact, I was listening to Sir Ian McKellen speak on something. He talked about that's what the theater is. It's people watching. It's going to watch. It's going to watch people living, and he loves it. And I mean, I think coming from the theater, I have that sort of gift, because we used to go watch people and sort of steal the way they moved in order to utilize it. But I don't tell you, I tell you, don't go out with judgment. Go out and just look at this beautiful world of panoply of different individuals, and know you're one of them, and know you're part of this beautiful network. And you're just as weird as everybody you see.
Yeah, because in the end, as individualistic as we all are, it's actually one thing.
There's no doubt.
We're all just a piece of the one thing, right? And the whole picture doesn't exist unless we all fill our own piece.
There's exactly. And that's what I'm trying to get people to look at, because we get caught up on the internet, and we get caught up in our tribe. Go out and find a different. Don't go out and hang out with a tribe. Just go out and sit back and observe. Another one is just get physically in touch with nature. Walk around barefoot. Put your hand in the dirt.
I don't wear shoes in the
Jeremy
summertime.
does not wear shoes. I barely wear shoes.
When I do wear shoes, I wear river shoes. They're like water shoes.
Okay, yeah.
So like
I wear
my feet still feel the ground.
Yeah.
My feet feel the ground all the time.
Beautiful.
Sometimes there's a little bit of rubber in between.
There is something about going out into nature that, in fact, I was listening to a podcast earlier today, and the woman that was being interviewed on the show, The Business of Storytelling, so a fellow storyteller, you should check that one out. She was talking about something she called gamma walking.
Okay.
I don't know what the gamma piece meant. I probably has some kind of meaning. The etymology, we could probably figure this one out. But essentially what it was is go out into nature, because that's where the good creative ideas come from. It's not sitting in front of your computer. It's not consuming content.
They're probably talking about the brain waves it creates with the gamma.
It's neuroplasticity and all of that. And I was like, yes. I was like, that's where your imagination comes to life, is when you're out in nature and you get all of that noise, out of your head, out of your, we talk about screaming into the ether and hugging trees and, yelling. And
I meditated before we recorded this episode today, because it's been a long day.
Meditate. I think it's day 6.
I was going to say meditation is a part of.
Well, so the first one is breathe. I tell everybody to start with breathing. Yes. And the reason I do is because as my joke is that I've never met a healthy person that didn't breathe. All right. But then I tell you to walk. I tell you to walk on an incline. I tell you to dance, to swim, to do yoga. Yes, physical stuff. Learn about nutrition. These are important for health.
Yeah.
But all these other things you've been talking about, you actually roll that into your chiropractic practice, where it's just like you're doing the adjustments in the physical side, but you're at the same time asking them, why are you really here, and what is your actual goal through this?
Yeah, very much so.
Which starts the thinking part to go with the physical part. Yeah.
There are patients in my practice that started seeing my grandfather in the 1950s, and we take care of their great-grandchildren. There are patients in my practice that there's one lady, she's a lovely lady. She went to my grandfather in 1973 because she could not have children. And we take care of her grandkids today, biological grandkids.
Oh, I love that story.
I have children I take care of that were not supposed to be born. My father and my uncles are 3 of them, because my grandmother could not have children until she went to chiropractic. We have this generational thing, and so it's way more than I have back pain, doctor.
So you're addressing fertility issues with chiropractic?
Absolutely.
See, this is where we start getting into realms I did not know existed.
I remember when my son was younger, he was having bedwetting problems, well past. We took him to a chiropractor. And we're doing adjustments for that. And that was helpful. So yeah, it's the things you can
way beyond what I
solve with this work.
We see, we've added it up, my wife and I, after going to seminars and stuff, we've seen almost 1,000 different health conditions come in. And that just spans this massive realm of different things. And as I tell people, they go, well, how can you handle all that? You know, do you cure vertigo? Do you cure infertility? I go, I don't. I remove interference in the nervous system so the brain and the body are communicating at its highest peak efficiency, can repair and can act the way that it's supposed to, you know, act. It's a self-healing organism. You are. Your body is.
You're inspiring the regenerative properties of the body.
Inspire is a great word for that.
That's good. Oh, as you said, vertigo. I had some serious bouts of vertigo years ago, and chiropractic and PT to some degree. It was certain movements that they were doing with my head to shift it around and all that. And I remember the first doctor I had seen when I was having the vertigo was like, oh, here, just take this pill. It's probably not going to, it was pointless. All I could be was, I wish somebody had said, yeah, you should go to a chiropractor or you should go see a physical therapist. And then when it happened again, I finally did that. It was up here in Flagstaff, and it was almost immediate relief where I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I didn't know this before. So
yeah. One of the biggest practices we have is kids with asthma, allergies, and hay fever. I mean,
oh yeah,
probably don't get too much in the desert, but
oh, you'd be surprised.
We're in the Ponderosa Forest in Flagstaff.
Yeah, then you would up there. Yeah,
pine pollen is a big thing.
But I mean, we see that because we see it involved in the spine, and it's an adaptive response. But I take care of Parkinson's. I take care of multiple sclerosis. I've taken care of ALS. I've taken care of people with different. I've been a another member of the healthcare team of people going through cancer treatments, because we're trying to keep your body working at optimal while you go through that type of stuff. The beauty of what I do is I don't do any therapy. We, certainly we do some type of spinal corrective work on there, in order to optimize the overall structure. But for the most part, we're just adjusting you, and we're allowing the body to heal. And yeah, there's therapeutic things you can be doing for that, and there's exercises you certainly want to be doing in different cases. But for the most part, I don't walk in there and say, I'm going to do this therapy to your spine so that you start to have palliative relief. I'm going to go in and I'm going to say, this is neither good nor bad, and it is not up to me how you go through healing. You are going to feel better and you are going to feel crappy, and then you're going to go through this process, because that's healing, that's life. The people that come in and they say, I want you to do something so I never have pain again. It doesn't exist. Doesn't exist. My morbid sense of humor says the only people I've ever found that have discovered that are down the street in the cemetery, and none of them are talking.
So this is really kind of blowing my mind. So with the chiropractic, I've always just thought of it as working the skeletal system. But you're really working the energy system of the body, the nervous system, and the magnetics. And
exactly.
I mean, the energy flow of the body.
Yeah, I mean, in the underlying piece, exactly. We're doctors of the nervous system, is what we are. We work through the spine because that's the physical area we can. But remember, your brain and your spinal cord, your central nervous system, is the only organ of the body that is completely protected by bone. Even the heart and the lungs are not fully protected by bone. And so, why is that? It's that important, probably. So when they get misalignments, we just adjust them. We put motion into them, because motion is life. If you ain't moving, you're probably dying. Jack LaLanne said that well. The only surefire way to hurt yourself is sit around on your butt and do nothing. But we put motion in.
It's reminding me of the practice of Qigong. Are you
practice that too?
That? It sounds so much like that, like just moving the body's energy around. And
well, then there's pieces of that. There's pieces of that. There's some chiropractors that focus specifically on that. I focus on the physical very much, but I make certain in my visualization when I'm working with somebody physically that I'm also thinking of them, neurologically, spiritually. Connecting with people on multiple planes, because it's aligning. We talk about alignment, and that word I think is a bit of a misnomer too, but it's trying to bring your body, mind, and spirit sort of into a state of harmony, to where then it can go forward, hit more disharmony, and you can continue to grow and change and evolve and adapt.
I understand the philosophy of chiropractic now, I think.
Hey.
And that's why it is a philosophy, science, and art of things natural. We study the most basic principles of biology. That's when I teach, then I teach through principles, through first principles of health. I don't teach, do this technique. That's why in the 40 over 40, it wasn't so much, this is what you should do to be healthy. It's, here's some suggestions. I guarantee you haven't thought of half of these as being related to health. Number 40 is swallow your pride.
Yeah, good one.
Very few healthier actions you can do. But because people think, oh, yeah, diet and exercise, and I'm sure he's going to tell you to adjust your spine. I am, because that's part of it too. But I tell people to play games. Walt Disney said it best. He said, we forget what it's like to be 12 years old. We lose our imagination.
Yeah, that is so true.
I got an older couple in my office, and they recently got married. They were both, one was a widow and a widower, and they met during the pandemic, and they said they got married after only a few months because what they did was they dated and they couldn't go anywhere. So they went to the park and they went for walks and they talked to each other and they fell in love over their mutual love of stand-up comedy. And so I get these two 70-year-olds that are just jokesters. And they're so much fun to be around, and you can see how much health and life they have. I try to get people to live every day rather than be alive. That's potential.
Feel that.
There's some good stuff that came
thing too.
Yeah,
it's one of my keys to happiness is my imagination is as good now as it was when I was a kid.
Yeah, I mean, I was just saying that with that woman I was listening to that podcast with, but actually kind of in the same, like COVID did some good for us, right? Because it did force us to slow down, right?
No doubt.
And we had to have we had to have relationships with the people that we had relationships with, like
or break them.
One another. Speaking of games, when the COVID stuff happened, my kids were, my oldest was in 5th grade. And my youngest was a kindergartner. We played games. We have games all over my house. We always have games. And I was like, well, a family that games together, And
no doubt.
We played so much Yahtzee. Holy crap. And we still do it, right? Like we still, I'll still sit down with my 12-year-old and bust out the Monopoly, and that Monopoly board stays on that kitchen table for 3 days because the game doesn't stop after 3 hours. And it's fun to. And what do you do while you're sitting there? Not only are you thinking, right, like using your brain, but you're
paying attention long term to something.
We talk. Like it is like undivided attention. Amazing how much I've learned about my 12-year-old son by doing that.
No doubt. Right?
Yeah. I mean, I wish my 17-year-old would talk to me. He does love it when I help him write his essays for English.
Talk to me.
No, but he might write to you.
All the other girls.
But he might write things.
Yeah, right. I got a lot of attention last night when I was helping him with his English paper.
But no doubt. But at the same time, I mean, there's always that in there. I was that 17-year-old.
Yeah. It's human connection. It's slowing down. It's having conversations. It's walking with one another, right? Like
so what were you doing? You were communicating. You know what the nervous system is? It's a communication system. My whole business is communication and connection.
Yeah.
And I do it physically. I do it I do it out in public. My wife and I can't travel. We don't tell people we're doctors. But I kid you not, we will be sitting at places and people come over and we'll just chat. And then they'll just start to tell us their life story. And they'll go, we don't know why we're telling you this. And we'll go, don't worry, we do.
I have that too. I've been a taxi driver for over 15 years and people tell me their whole life. And even before I was doing that, it's probably why I went that way. My whole life I've been that guy. People are just start talking to me and tell me things that I've never told anyone this. I'm like, why me, man? Now I have to carry that.
Well, good.
You're not judging them for it.
Yeah.
I think it's that lack of judgment you have for it. And also it's that idea. I got this idea. I don't know if you've ever read the book Wizard's First Rule by Terry Goodkind.
Oh yeah, I love that book. Zed was one of my heroes.
So Zed, what's one of Zed's things in the very beginning? He says, think of the solution, not the problem. I was 14 when I read that the first time. And I've carried that with me. I recently wrote about it in an article. And they said, what's the most impactful book in your life? And that was the one I wrote. I said, because of that line. Think of the solution, not the problem. That was what I just said about solve versus fix.
Yeah.
Right
a
there.
big part of what put me on the path of becoming a wizard myself.
Exactly.
There you go.
So according to Zed, no self-respecting wizard had a beard. I mean, they're itchy.
Well, Jeremy.
That's just because he couldn't grow a proper one.
That's right.
I'm in the Gandalf class of the bearded wizard.
Don't worry, I got it. That's if you look over my left shoulder, Gandalf was in that play. He played Falstaff in Player Kings.
Yeah, nice.
I was trying to read what was on that book cover.
That was on the West End.
Oh.
So we just happened to be in London when Sir Ian was in Shakespeare. And
that's cool.
Yeah, that was fun.
Oh my gosh.
So.
We could just keep talking.
We could.
One thing I want to cover before we let you go is I'm watching the time here. I'm the
we're getting there.
I know. I'm the time watcher. And I'm looking actually at this email that I had received when I first learned about you. And there's something that really stands out to me. And I think this is a really, really good thing for us to maybe end our conversation with today. And it's the statement is why purpose may be the missing health metric. So we talk about healthcare on the show all the time because we're a healthcare podcast, and that we cover a lot of things, right? And so much of this kind of philosophy that you have and this approach to the potential of health and humans, right? Like let's figure this out. Like, let's think about the things that we actually need. And so much of that is purpose. And I think people who live with purpose do live a really long time. Like 100, what you said, you had like a 104-year-old patient. And I totally believe that. That was like, when I read that, I was like, yes, I'm like, it's all about purpose. I'm like so focused on having purpose. How, like, I don't know, just like, let's riff off that a little bit, because I think that's such an important thing that a lot of people don't consider, that they're just kind of going through the motions, checking the boxes. Maybe I'm hitting some benchmark that somebody else has set for me, and that's not even the thing.
Trying to live your best life.
Exactly. What is that? So how does purpose, influence ourselves and the decisions that we make, or how can it? Maybe is the question.
Should's a terrible word, right. Because it implies that you're subordinated to somebody else.
Yeah.
Your brain has different parts to it. The cerebrum itself has different parts. And the foremost part up here in our frontal lobe is the telencephalon. And the telos, to go back to the Greek, is really the end in mind. It's the end. We have telomeres on our chromosomes, which is the end of the chromosome, which we try to keep healthy since Elizabeth Blackburn did all that research in the 70s in order to keep for part of longevity. But we have this at the end of the brain, and then there's actually a study called teleology, which is the study of meaning and purpose. It's meaning you're studying the end. You're trying to keep the end in mind, and even beyond yourself. It's if you're a fan of Brandon Sanderson's work at all, in his Knights Radiant, part of their thing is journey before destination, because we all know the destination. It's knowing that journey and being able to just kind of go through that journey without having to worry about where we're going, but still knowing where we want to be, and purpose is sort of following that line. So the telencephalon of the brain has the executive function is there, not the CEO function, but that's actually where the word comes from, because that's the one that executes. So if your brain, if you retire from your profession, from your job, your day job, and you have no purpose beyond that, your brain has no reason to keep these trillions of cells in coordination. And it will start to just let them go, because it'll say, well, there's no real reason to get up in the morning and keep all this working. We'll just slowly sort of let it die out. But I've had people that never want to retire. I mean, my friend in San Diego, her veterinarian she said she thought he was going to retire and was looking for another one. She found out he's 73 or 74, and he goes, "I'm expanding the building. I'm so busy." I mean, he's going to keep going until I just saw Sir Ian McKellen on stage again earlier this year in Chicago at the Chicago Shakespeare. This man's 86 years old. I can guarantee he's going to be like 110, and he's going to say the last line on his last day of doing a Shakespeare, and he's just going to like stop and die there when he goes, because he's just there's no retirement in him. You can see the purpose and just the vibrant vibrancy of him when he's up there in front of you, that he just lives. And so we go back to this idea of health is a state of wholeness, and it's looking at all these little pieces. But that's also why I ask people when they come in, why do you want to get over this problem?
Mm-hmm.
What is your purpose? Have you ever read Osho? The philosopher, the Indian thinker? He never wrote anything. His followers, he was a guru. His followers wrote down his speeches, and you have different books, and I've read a lot of them, and there's some great wisdom in there. There's some, he led an interesting life too, so you can go both ways on him. But one of the things that really struck me is there's a book, and it's all about concepts of freedom. And he makes a point in there. He goes, a lot of people know what they want, that they want freedom from something, but they don't really know what they want freedom for. The founders of the United States Constitution, they knew what they wanted freedom for. They were studying all these philosophies and were trying to create a whole new system. He uses and I'm not going to get political here, but he used the example of Khomeini in Iran during the revolution in Iran. He said they wanted freedom from who was running Iran at the time, but they didn't quite know what they wanted freedom for. So they started to infight, and Khomeini is the one that kind of came out on top. And I only know the bare history of that, but he used that as that example. So I stole that, and I said, I know you want health. I know you want to be free from this pain. You want health from this pain, but what do you really want health for? What is your purpose? Why do you want whole being? To do what? To accomplish what? And I make people answer that. And then they start to come out. I really, do you want to be able to be more time with your kids? I've had older people that go, the hell with that. My kids have their own lives. I want to go do other stuff.
I want to go skiing.
Yeah.
I want to learn how to roller skate.
Yeah, an 86-year-old. She's going to Iceland this year on a tour. She went to an African safari last year for 2 weeks. She goes, so what? That's what I want to do with my life. I'm having fun. And then I go see my family in the off time. And I go, great.
Yeah.
How can I help you continue to do that? So purpose, and other human behavior, human potential speakers will tell you that the purpose is life's driving force. It's true. Because if you don't give your brain a realistic purpose, it has no reason to sort of recruit all this. So when you write down an objective, you write down a goal, even if it's short term, if it's realistic and it's something that resonates with you, that's not, a New Year's resolution crap that you don't really intend to do anyway, your brain will start to make you notice things over here and stuff over there. I think I need a new car. Suddenly you start seeing different, that's interesting. I've never seen a car like that before. I should look into it. Just weird stuff will start to happen. That's the real law of attraction.
Mm-hmm.
But you'll create that purpose. So if you can create a mission and a vision beyond you, and it doesn't have to be grand. It doesn't have to be going to Mars. It doesn't have to be running a country. It can be so much as, I want to raise a lovely family with that are competently raising other members of the family that are living and serving and growing a community that's going to last far beyond my day. I mean, it can be something simple as that. And it doesn't have to be that they're going out and doing grand things, because grand things, every grand thing is made up of small things. Yeah. The smallest action you make is going to change the world. Dr. B.J. Palmer, who is Dee Dee's son, who really developed chiropractic, has a quote we keep on the wall. And it's, you never know how far-reaching something you say, think, or do today will affect the lives of millions tomorrow. Because he believed that one adjustment, one time, on one person, on one bone, to affect one nerve, will ripple through that individual's life into everybody they touch and everybody they touch forever out to infinity.
Yeah. It's like how we're going to save the world with this podcast one episode at a time.
But you can't not.
Yeah.
You can't not make it.
That half jokingly. I really hope that this podcast
We do
at some point has a real effect and makes a lot of lives better.
Yeah.
But we will never know how far reaching it goes, because one person could listen to it today, and it doesn't have to be, me talking to you, but you, just the two of you talking. And somebody might listen, you might say something, they might go, wow, I never thought of that. And they change their life. And then every single individual they interact with forever from that time they're going to interact different. It can't not happen. That's
beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like,
that's how life works, right?
Yeah, I love that. It's just that like web and the interwovenness of humanity and humankind and our energies and
we're all one thing.
Wow. I knew this was going to be a great place to end on. I feel really uplifted and enlightened, and I don't know, my heart feels pretty full right now.
Before we jump though, where do people find your 40 over 40?
So you went very simple. You go to 40over40.com. It's 40over40.com. And you'll be able to get on there. That's where it is something you purchase. You get lifetime access to the videos. We'll have audios. There'll be an ebook, all together for one thing. And you can also get on there and we got a couple of fun free downloads for you if you throw your email in. Just 7 signs you're living a little bit off purpose, off track. And I also put together a whole curated list of 40 inspiring insights from individuals over 40.
Love it. Nice. Love it. And then you have your website, Dr. Kyle Hulsebus.
You got it.
I almost
perfect.
myself up there.
.com.
We'll put that in the show notes too, because you do some speaking engagements as well, right? So
I speak to corporations. You can even go on there. I have a keynote I do on infertility and chiropractic and purpose. So because that's been a big thing in our family, because really literally our family wouldn't be here without chiropractic.
Right.
And you can also find me on YouTube at Dr. Kyle Hulsebus. I've got a bunch of fun little videos. Every time I travel, I do videos of where I'm at and with what I'm thinking of at the time.
Well, we'll be sure to put that all in the show notes, and so people can find you and look you up and all the good stuff. So, well, thank you so much for coming on. This has been definitely a unique one of our most unique episodes. We definitely haven't had a conversation like this.
Yeah, let's all go find our purpose.
Yes.
Please.
I'm here for it.
And awesome. Please, thank you, both of you. Thank you to all the listeners for it's come this far. And please, I do encourage everybody to go check out the 40 over 40. It's made to be able to share, for you to just maybe find something you've never thought of that will affect your life and help you affect the lives of millions of others too.
There you go. And there you go. There you have it. Awesome. Well,
Thanks for joining us on the Healthcare Uprising. Make sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons before you go, and take a moment to think of a friend and hit that share button. You can find us on all the major audio platforms, and we've got video on YouTube if you want to watch us in action.
You can also find us on social media on LinkedIn, TikTok, and Instagram. Just search Healthcare Uprising to find us. And if you're a new company with a cool new product, if you're someone innovating alternative methods for the health and wellness space, or if you have a personal healthcare journey you'd like to share with us here at The Uprising, please email us at healthcareuprising@gmail.com, and we'll get back to you about coming on the show. Well, that's all for this dose of Healthcare Uprising. Until the next time, keep looking for the good in the world, because sometimes it's where you least expect it.
We are not doctors and we don't play one on TV. If you need medical advice, consult with your physician or a healthcare professional. This has been a Shut Up production.
Shut up!